let's just take a second and get in the room and let anybody else trickle in that might be coming. And just, I will invite us to start with just becoming aware of our feet. Can you become aware of your feet as you sit there? Can you become aware of your breath and your feet as you sit there? Just breathe. Nothing to do, nothing to fix, just awareness. Feeling if your feet want to move, if your breath thinks it needs to do something different. Remind them that they're perfect. Thanks, guys. I'm going to invite us as we start to continue to bring awareness to our feet. Anytime we feel a bit hijacked in our bodies or in our mind or in the conversation that is going on, we want to call someone wrong or defend ourselves in any way, I'm going to invite you to become aware of your feet before you do. That's all. Just bringing awareness into the body before we speak. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Um, Jessica and I, I initiated this call from a conversation that Jonah and I had yesterday, and then coming into the room and seeing the beautiful dialogue that was taking place. And I wanted to bring light to the opportunity that we all have in this community that is a community of awareness. No matter how we see it, we're all becoming aware. And so bringing awareness that truth with a capital T, none of us have it. We all have our own truths with a lowercase t. And when we come together as a community or a fractal and we bring our lowercase t truths together, they could make an uppercase T truth. All of them together, every sight, every viewpoint that comes into the room can paint a picture that is grander than all of us could imagine, darker and lighter in both ways. And so in this space, as Six Lines, we wanted to invite the idea that instead of creating boundaries for a safe space, that we together work on building capacity from within to disagree. We are in a science of differentiation. And if we love this differentiation that we have been brought into, we get to honor the differentiations of everyone else. And so we get to practice that. We don't know how to do that. We've never done that as a collective before. So we, in this space of awareness, get to practice that, to know that disagreement is actually the thing we need to be doing, and that we get to learn how to do that together in a way where we can all build our own inner capacity to participate in that disagreement. And so with this invitation to become aware of your feet, if you feel dysregulated, all I'm inviting is for you to become aware of the chemistry of your body at the time. I'm being your ally in this tool that we all use that says follow your body's wisdom. I'm inviting you with this tool to follow your body's wisdom before you speak. And I'm inviting all of us to accept it. And if we get dysregulated by hearing it, we become aware of our feet. We come into our body in the water in the cells of our body and be with it and nurture ourselves. That's how we build the capacity to out breath to disagree. So I'm really excited. I love the dark and the light. I love these edgy conversations. I almost wanted to say, let's get ready to rumble because I love it. Let's bring our differentiating opinions. I know what the fuck I think. I don't need to sit here and fight it. I want to know what you think. I want to know your perspective and your perspective and your perspective, because only then can I have a wider view of what could be possible. And now I will stop and hand it over to Jessica. Jessica's going to moderate the space today. That doesn't mean rules. We both are still, balancing. We hate rules. What is a rule? Poo-poo on rules, but how do we disagree? And so we've decided to hold a structure and we can all be heard.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Yes. I reached out to Brandy yesterday and asked how can I support? Because the thing is I don't have a strong opinion on this one way or the other. I think that this conversation is just something that needs to happen. And I believe that being able to help moderate this space and create a structure. And like Randy said, it's not rules per se, but it is a structure so that everybody can feel like they're being heard, that everybody gets their voice to actually say what they want to say. And so, it's a provocative title. Like, is human design a cult? It's something that creates a spark. It's something that can perhaps trigger something. Like Brandy said, bringing your attention back to your feet when you feel that you're a little bit like, oh, I disagree. And just like, okay, it's cool. Disagree. Let's do that. Let's do that in this space. And the nuances that we get to explore here, and for someone sitting up on the roof watching all of this happen, I love it. It's like, yeah, let's bring it together. So I think that we all need to keep in mind today is that we're gathered here because we all love this system. The system has brought us something, it has given us something or not, right? It has perhaps given us pain or it's given us pleasure, but it's something that has given us something during our self-exploratory journey. And just remember that we're all here on with that love for exploring ourselves in a different way. And human design has just been one of the systems that we all have found. And I also want to remind us that we're not this space by all means. Ra was the person that brought this to us. And we're not really here to discuss Ra and his role or what he did. We're here to discuss what is human design now? How do we bring this now? And all respect to the man. Like, I love Raw. I am one of those persons who can, binge Raw for many, many days and hours and months, but really just remembering what we're here to discuss. And that is human design a cult? And what is cultish behavior? And how can we perhaps share our experiences of, yes, we've experienced cult-like behavior, or no, I haven't experienced that. So, my role as a moderator here is really just to hold that conversation. If I feel like someone is starting to point fingers at other people, like we want to speak from I, not you, right? It's I have experienced this, I feel this, I think this, I want to, and not you, pointing the fingers. I might just, hey, let's go back to I, let's not go into you, just gently, carefully bringing us back to what is actually going to be productive in this space. And besides that, I'm going to be monitoring the chat. So if anybody has comments or questions or things that they want to put in the chat, then they can do that. And I will be keeping an eye on that. And the way I would love for this to go is I would love to invite Jonah to be the first person to speak. And from there, everybody, I hope that you know how to like raise your virtual hand here in this space, like Brandy just did for us. Just raise your hand. I have something to say. And I want to say, like, I don't know all the projectors here, but like Mark, Therese, the people who I do know who are projectors, like, we want to hear what you have to say. So you are invited. I am not going to be calling out, specific people. I want you to just you feel invited, raise your hand, and then we will take it from there and we'll we'll go in order. Are there any questions? Is there anything unclear? Is there anything that I said that doesn't make sense as a genius to freak?
I would like to mention something really quickly. Some of us experienced yesterday someone that was in our community that felt strongly about something and was unwilling to share a name or a face. Um, that is unacceptable in this space. The reason being is because we are all building capacity from inside to express ourselves in a way that is equanimitous. We are yearning to do that. But if we don't know who we're talking to and we're not able to have accountability, that is not a reciprocity kind of relationship that I'd like to have here. I have reached out to someone that has not shared their name or their face yet. And I would like that person, if you could please, to either share your name or your face so that we know who's in this space or leave this space. That's an option too.
Okay. Um, yes, Mr. Cross of Tension, that was assumption when I put we all. I am so sorry, my darling. Okay. You're pointing at something. If you wanted comments,
Yes,
yes.
I Brandy, in from my perspective, that was an assumption on your part that we're all here to do something and be this or that. And that's not necessarily true. That might be your intention or the way you want to frame it, but that's certainly not universal.
Okay, great. I would love to hear why you're here then. Please tell me that.
I'm here to discuss the topic, not whether or not we're all open to whatever this or that. And if someone doesn't want to show their face or whatever because of their reason, then that's their reason.
Right.
And
And
if
this
you
is
don't
my
want to
space.
have them, but the way you framed it, it was about we all are here to do and to have that awareness and be in there. And I'm like, well, that may not be true. So that's why I was pointing out. It's not nothing big. It just
Beautiful.
I'm
Thank
just
you,
pointing
Mark.
out.
Thank you, Mark. And I would love to know what is true for you in the vein of what Jessica has requested. You're here to discuss the topic in hopefully an equanimous way. That was my assumption. And I hear you telling me that my assumption was untrue. Is that right?
It was more than the equanimity at the end of discussing it. We all can have whatever that may be. Whether it's there is equanimity reached or attained during this discussion
My goal.
is who
Just an
knows.
intention.
It's usually not life, but I understand that. So, but I was talking about the level of being, I think something you said, I don't remember verbatim, about that we're all here to seek or be, and it ended in equanimity, but it was something that was prior to that. So
Okay, well,
what I was pointing
I
out,
hear you disagreed with me, and my intention
I
was
was
an
just making
intention
a
of
point.
equanimity.
Yes,
Thank
I was
you.
making a point. I'm also a
You're
three,
making a
three,
point.
five, so
All right.
I am across attention and a provocateur, but I also stick up for people who may not feel as comfortable
Yes.
around certain areas. So
Yeah,
just like you do
yeah,
in
for
your
sure.
own way.
For
Yeah.
sure. Thank you, Mark.
Yes. I think it's
Thank you, Erin, for sharing that you are the person that was unnamed and unfaced. Thank you.
all right. We are going to open up with Jonah, and anybody who has a continued from yesterday or something new from today, you can just raise your hand and I will call on each of you. So, Jonah, open the space for us, please.
Thank you so much, Jessica, and thank you again, everyone, for being here. And I really did mean what I said yesterday, that I felt and feel very honored to be included in this conversation because human design has been a really big part of my life and still is. I mean, there are a lot of parts of No Choice that I do agree with, and I kind of feel like we do end up in these different areas of life. And the one thing I never wanted in writing my book was to close the door on all of the friends I've made in the wonderful human design communities I've been a part of. So with that, I do want to actually address what I meant by the title, because that's come up a lot. I get a lot of questions about the title and why did I call it that and so on. And there's actually one question in particular, I'm just going to post it. If anybody, by the way, wants to send me anonymous comments, I won't necessarily share them today because I don't think we have time, but I have been collecting them to explore further, perhaps at HDHD 2026 or in other venues, and I'm happy to do that. This was an anonymous comment I received asking about one of my other interests, which is personality typology and Enneagram. I'm not going to read the whole comment in the interest of time, but you can see it in the chat there. I'd like to ask him what he sees similar in the Enneagram cult and the human design cult, or what's being called that. And this is very much ties into why I named my book The Human Design Cult. Enneagram is an incredible system that I love, and there's a lot of scholarship on it. There's people from different psychological frameworks. There's people from Christian mystical traditions, from secular traditions, from all sorts of different psychological, Carl Jung. I love it. I teach it. It started in what is usually characterized as a cult. In the Eureka School, the founder of the Enneagram, and I won't derail into this too much, he was known as the master. He was said to be a living incarnation of God. People were terrified to say anything against him because they'd be excommunicated and shunned. They had extremely strict, rules and all sorts of stuff. By the way, I am not saying that human design comes anywhere close to that. I mean, if you hear cult and you think like Jim Jones or Charles Manson or something like that, that's not what I mean. But I do think it's fair to have a book or an article, I'm not going to write it, but somebody certainly could, called The Enneagram Cult, about this excessive devotion to a particular belief system that was extremely controlling, self-controlling, and controlling of others. And so when I say the human design cult, I'm not really saying I think everyone who's into human design is in a cult. If I did, I certainly wouldn't have continued promoting High Desert Human Design. I wouldn't have encouraged Brandy and Richard to take over High Desert Human Design. I'm attending High Desert Human Design this year. I certainly wouldn't put my approval on the communities that I've fostered and been a part of if I really believed that everyone who gets into human design somehow adopts these beliefs. I also don't want people like Mark, who's a good friend of mine here, to feel like, okay, I'm saying then there's a non-culty way, but then people like you, Mark, are doing it the culty way. I don't see that. I want each of us to reflect on that. Like even Mark's clarification today, this is something that, having known Mark for a number of years, we lived together briefly. We're good friends. I see that Mark has the utmost respect for individuality, and anytime anybody makes a generalization about all people, that's like a trigger for you, Mark. I hope it's okay to characterize that, because you say, well, is that the mind saying that, or is that based on reality and on how things unfold and so on? And there is this amazing philosophical, almost Zen, almost stoic surrender to just the way things are. I have not seen Mark control people by calling them mental, but I have had other people control me by calling me mental, and I have controlled them, and I have controlled myself through that. So just to be clear, I'm not saying anything about you, Mark, but I have personally used, that's mental, or that's from the mind, or all of these kinds of things as coercive ways to control. I also really appreciated what you said, Jessica, about we're all here because human design has touched us in some way and it's been part of our spiritual journey, or just, and not, you didn't say spiritual, but, it's part of our journey of growth and development. Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't have written the book if I didn't have tremendous investment in learning the system and the philosophies and contemplating and thinking about it. One side note, when people say, Gene Keys is so mental because it's about contemplation, I don't know. I spent 10 years contemplating human design. And, you might say that's evidence I never really got it, but I don't think so. I think there are some very incredible ideas in human design. I mean, both from Ra and from others who have taken his structure and have worked with it in different ways. I mean, I love that kind of stuff. Like, I think it's very valuable to examine all of the ideas and talk about them and what do they mean? What does no choice mean? It might mean something different for you than someone else. All of this. So I just want to be clear that when I called the book The Human Design Cult, it's in the same way that I would talk about the Enneagram cult of, is there a sense in which there are people that are controlling other people or themselves? And it was also very confessional. And if you read the book, it's very, very confessional, because I got to a place of extreme self-control where, because I'm a calm eater, I wouldn't eat around other people. I didn't sleep in Aura with anyone for 10 years. I mean, I didn't sleep on a plane or a bus around people. I didn't sleep in bed with a partner for 10 years. I had extreme levels of self-analysis and self-control where I would think, oh, I want to call my old friend, and then I would stop myself because that's initiating. At one point, I did invite my friend, who by the way, is an emotional projector, so I was very careful always to give him enough time and all of the. I was just so careful and all this stuff. And eventually, I did just say like, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" Because I was kind of loosening up and kind of overcoming this strict way of living. And then he's like, "Don't you know that when you do that, even if I say yes, I can never know if it's correct for me because I'm preempting my emotional wave. Anytime you ask me to be spontaneous, you're pulling me into my transference, you're pulling me into my not self." And so my point is, it's funny when I've told people this, they've said something like, "Wow, Jonah, it sounds like after 10 years you finally stopped being mental and you actually got human design." No, for the first 9 years, yeah, sure, very mental, whatever you want to call it. I was just conceptually understanding it. Then for the next 10 years, I was deeply, deeply, deeply experimenting with it through embodiment practices, through thought stopping techniques, through emotion stopping techniques, through the practice of surrender and sort of clearing all mental clutter to get to authentic sacral responses. They're real, by the way. I don't say that. I've absolutely, just like muscle testing or many other methods of embodied practice can get you into touch with your inner truth, I would never question the veracity of something like a sacral response, certainly not someone else's, and not my own either. I mean, I've had experiences where I have known at a very deep level, a visceral level, something is right for me or not, and I've had to sort of get through layers and layers and layers of mental junk to get there. So that whole narrative is not a problem for me. I don't have a problem with the narrative of we have to get through our conditioning, our stories, our childhood, our traumas, all this stuff that gets in the way of knowing who we are and what's right for us and what we should do. That's beautiful, and that's the journey of self-discovery that is available to us all, and I think that's a really beautiful thing. That's also why I think overall human design is a net positive for the world. I mean, I've heard from people who've said it saved their lives, and I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that for a moment. If somebody's in a really bad place and they're able to take in information that helps them trust a part of themselves they've been ignoring, and that gets them to a different place, that's a beautiful thing. Why did I name it the Human Design Cult? Because I've also gotten to a really extreme place of control, and I've witnessed that. And basically, I wrote the book out of exasperation because I didn't want to have to be some sort of morality police. I was seeing all this not self-policing going on, and then I was policing the police and saying, "Don't do that, don't do that." And I just got exhausting, and it turned into this vicious cycle of now I'm the one policing them, policing others. And I just said, look, I'm just going to clear the table. I came to a place of deep, deep clarity. I'm not emotionally defined, but I experienced something like what I've been hearing about this, emotional clarity thing. I came to a place of deep clarity that really didn't go away. That was not an easy place to get to. It involved a lot of grief. It involved a lot of this sinking feeling. It involved a lot of cognitive dissonance and confusion. And it was really like a multi-month or even year-long birthing process that moved from writing an open letter, Keep Human Design Cult Free, to a number of conversations, all the way to eventually and I had a lecture that I'd prepared. It just kept going, and pretty soon 20 pages turned into 200 pages, and I thought, okay, this thing has to be a book. I have to get it out there, and what am I really saying? And at the end of the day, I could not think of a better way to describe it than cult-like behavior. I'm going to paste some definitions, and then I'm going to hand over the mic to others, whoever else would like to share. This is the Keep Human Design Cult Free letter that I wrote, and then these are some definitions of cult, just from like Merriam-Webster and Oxford Dictionary and etymology.
I appreciate you doing that, Jonah, so that we can all be like, this is what you're talking about. Because what I'm hearing you say is, for you, it has been the restriction and the regulation and the control that has been the issue that led you to read or to write this book.
Yes, and my self-control, and it wasn't even necessarily, I mean, I did witness it in others. I also, to my horror, witnessed it in myself and saw how so many, virtually all of my personal and professional relationships were heavily, heavily colored by extreme layers of control, and that I was imposing this control on others and how they would speak to me, expecting them to ask me yes or no questions, justifying and rationalizing being rude to people. I was rude to you when we first met, when we first encountered, and you better believe I had a complete human design narrative story about it. So when I've expressed this to people, they've said, well, okay, it sounds like you never really got human design because that's not what human design is about. And it sounds like maybe now, finally, after you've gone through this, you're finally getting what it's about. Well, maybe, but I found human design in 2006. I had 9 years of conceptually understanding it. I had 10 years of actively experimenting with it. I think it's a little disingenuous to say that I got there because I didn't really experiment with it. I actually got there through experimenting with it, through validating it, through proving to myself it works. And somehow I still ended up in a place where I was controlling myself and others in a very extreme way.
All
I'm
right.
not blaming anyone for that. I don't blame Ra. I don't blame anyone else in the system for that. But that's what happened to me,
Yeah,
or for me. Yeah.
perfect. Thank you for opening the space, Jonah.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to give the microphone to Brandy and let's see what she has to.
Okay. I wanted to share my process and what I've seen. Um, and I want to start by saying I've read Jonah's book, and in the end, human design is not a cult, according to Jonah Dempsey. In the end, if you've read the book, it is Jonah's autobiography into self, into full selfhood, is what this book is. And I love, so from my experience, human design absolutely has been a process of discovery, in which part of the process of discovering myself is making someone else wrong. This is what we have to do. We binary ourselves and then we bring us back. We take us apart and we bring us back. So in my experience, yes, in order to follow my design, I met human design and was on the brink of death. I was following it as a way to stay alive. So in following my human design, absolutely, you bet your ass, I got real staunchy about it. I got real protective of my energy because I had never been before. So in a pendulum experience, when I had given myself completely away to everybody and was dying of an autoimmune disorder, to all the way, I can't die. I have 4 children. So goddamn right, I'm going to tell you you're wrong if you're treating me wrong. It's just the process of neurological development. And then I outbreathed again and realized it wasn't so damn serious. But I needed to go through that period to be able to have my inner selves learn back the defense mechanisms that I had given away so easily in my life. And so it was just this process of development, of giving myself away to a system, remembering that it is the raft, not the shore. For me, I forgot sometimes that it wasn't the shore. I thought that I had to live in this human design world until I learned to speak it in my own language. And that's when I could integrate back with the world again in a different kind of way as my sovereign self. But that giving myself away, that was a part of the process for me. And if my family saw it, they did. They said I was part of a cult. They said it all the time because what my behavior looked like at that moment was that I was part of something in which I was giving my authority to. It looked like that because that's what I was doing. And once we allow the in breath and out breath, some people do, some people don't. In my practice, I see a lot of people in this process. And there are neurological stages of development that I go through and the people that I have seen go through. And this is just part of the process, is the in-breath and out-breath of self-development. It was taken from us. And so, of course, we were going to give it to someone else that makes us feel better until we can stand up in it by ourselves. That's just the way we're programmed right now. It's none of our faults, in my experience. So yeah, I think we could all write the book about when, again, I'm we-alling again, Mark, and I'm gonna do it. I bet most of us, some of us, all of us, 1 or 2 of us, could write a book about when we gave our power away to human design and when we got it back. And that's the book that Jonah wrote.
Thank you, Brandy.
I'd like to just follow up. Brad, that's funny. Uh, we, throughout humankind, we give our power away from our birth to all kinds of different agencies, whether it's our parents, the school, the teachers, our employers, other significant others in our lives, our families beyond when we live at home. A lot of our authorities are usurped by other things. So and certainly human design can do that, like Brandy just expressed. That is something that could happen. But for me, I find it as the most liberating thing. I've studied a lot of systems and modalities for a long time. And this is the one that I've stuck with the longest for sure. It's been 20. I don't see me moving, and I still look at other things. I look at other systems. Even this summer, I got into Vedic astrology just to see what that was about because I'm a projector. I love systems, especially about life, but it's about, are we giving our authority away? And then again, what if all this, I posit a question, what if all this is just perfect? This is just the way it is to be, and then we get to experience it. But are we, and then there's no choice in whether we get consumed by the drama of our own movie and the movies around us, or that we can be in the audience and watch it and discuss it from that perspective. Hey, did you see what I did? Or, a lot of times I could say, oh, I'm being not self in this moment. My mind's thinking this, and I could call myself out. I remember one time, right, and I've said this before, I was riding in a car and I got mad about something. I was like, and my significant other, she goes, you're being not self. I go, you know what? I am. You know what? And I'm enjoying it at the moment. Give me one more minute, then I'll be done. It was like, but it's the awareness, and then seeing it that maybe it's okay. And maybe Jonah's role is to be this kind of person that's bringing out this thought process. Maybe that's his script in the movie. That's the way I look at it. So that's why I don't take it personally or make it about person, but I can say when somebody's making a decision from their mind, that's to me, it's obvious. I mean, I can hear it, I can see it. It's right there. I see it everywhere, but it doesn't make it bad. It just makes it mind. That's all. See, but the problem, like what Jonah was saying, people are making it bad and making it coercive, which they have no choice because that's where they're at in their stage. And maybe they go beyond that stage, or maybe they get stuck there. Who knows? But if you have the perspective that potentially it's okay where everyone's at in their process, then you can meet everybody potentially without making it personal, even though sometimes it can feel so personal, and that's the way I would just bring it up.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to call on Dia, and if I pronounce your name incorrectly, I am very sorry.
You got it right. Thanks, Jessica. Mark, there were a few we's and you's in there. Just saying. I do it a lot as well. And it's actually really neat hearing it because it's like, oh, thank God I'm not the only one who's doing this. When Jonah first mentioned the book to me and I saw the title, I groaned. I was like, oh God, there's that word, But I also really got in my body that this is needed, like Mark just said. It's all right. All of it's just perfect. It's like it's needed to stir the pot, to press on the bruises, to allow all of this stuff to come to the surface. And that's what it's done. So thank you, Jonah, for bringing it through. The other thing that I got as Jonah, you were speaking, was this present scene of the shape-shifting of words. Words like semantic primes, right? They mean something different to each of us as a generalization. I'll name that as a generalization. Like the word gay. Gay just used to mean happy. Now it's got something completely different. It's got a very, very different meaning. to me, what I'm reading now and understanding now with the word cult is that that word too is getting a shapeshift. I like that. I've got my son in 49, you know, a little bit of revolution, liking to rebirth, poking the bear, it's all there. So, what I asked Jonah after I held the book in my hand when you came to visit is this is a book that's been written. This is the first book. The second book to me is the book of healing. And what I am hopeful here is like what Brandy brought in the beginning is so many people, we all have our truth. They are all true. They're true, they're true. And collectively, my sense, looking at Jonah's design and making a whole lot of assumptions, is that there is this openness that's there to hold all of these different truths and give voice and healing to people who need it, that haven't been able to give voice for whatever particular reason, why he's gotten so many anonymous. And I am in so much gratitude for you for doing this. I really am. Because it's like, you know, it's really bloody hard being on the forefront of things. I'll make another generalization. I reckon that all of us know that. You know, I can't see a lot of heads because a lot of you guys, you got your cameras off, but it's like I do really get that feeling. So my question, Jonah, for you is with the sense of control and can't even read my own writing. There was an R word there. Anybody remember the R word? Oh God, it's not recognition. It's not, yeah, coercion. That was the other C word. Restriction. Thank you. Restriction. And the what's not, right? What is the freedom of spirit, the healing that you are birthing? Restriction. That was the word. Thank you. What is birthing out of you that's coming about? What is the flip side? What is the healing to help those of us who are here, or myself very much so. I won't make that a generalization that everybody is here for that, but it's that moving forward. You know, how can we as a community that is so deeply felt in the presence of all this conflict and cult and restriction and all those different things, what's your sense that's coming forward?
Well, I really appreciate, and I totally welcome creative, poetic descriptions of body graphs, poetic keynoting. I really like what you said about the openness in my chart and so on. And so and being able to hold a number of truths and maybe even give voice to a number of voices. I would just say, for me personally, the last thing I'd want to do is give anyone more fear about, oh my God, like we're already dealing with crazy political situations and economic situations and all sorts of doom and gloom. And I didn't want my book to be another doom and gloom book. I was naming something and making a distinction, which sort of had to be done in a forceful way. And I think you're right. I mean, it is half the story, where maybe the other half is what happens after that's been named. What is the healing story that comes after making the distinguishing cut, in a way? For me personally, I have really entered into another grand experiment in life, which is like life after human design. I never thought that would even be a possible thing. I really, it was unimaginable even just a year ago, really. But as far as like what I can do as an active agent and not just sort of throw my hands up and say, well, I wrote the book, you guys deal with it. I think the main thing really that I've found is that things like this sort of conversation or any personal conversation, I've had a lot of one-on-one conversations. I kind of feel like people make a big deal about, oh, just listening to each other, stuff like that. It's really sharing attention and paying attention together to the same things, and that's why I feel so honored people are even willing to pay attention to my story. I'm willing to pay attention to your story. I'm willing to pay attention to each and every one of the people's stories here, because the fact is I am invested in this. I can't just show up in a convention of carpenters and have an immediate connection with people, but having been in this system for so long and knowing, I mean, this is a global community and we are all part of something. It is a movement. It is a mutation, if you want to call it that. It is some sort of avant-garde. So I would just say, for my own part, I am more than willing to share my attention with each and every one of you here on this call and anyone else in the human design community. And it doesn't have to be talking about my book or things like that. It can literally just be, you want to bounce an idea off me or something that you're experiencing. I'm more than available for that. But as far as the second book, this was something that I had to write, and I felt the biggest sense of relief, true satisfaction having finished it, even if I was a bit apprehensive about how it would be received. If another book comes, I think it'll be something that I'll have to write, because this is the only book I've ever finished, and all I can say is I don't think I would have finished it if it wasn't something that had this urgent necessity in me that sort of had to be done. I can't predict if that would happen again, but I don't think I could just sit down and try to write a healing book. I think if healing comes out of it, and I understand that is part of my incarnation cross, and also Teresa's here. If it is, then I think that's something that will just happen organically. I'd love to hear from others. I'm also going to share a few comments that I've received, not today, but I'm just going to post a few comments in the chat just if people are interested. I don't want to, I want others to be able to obviously comment in the chat, but just a few of the interesting ones that I found, I'm going to be sharing in there.
Thank you, Jonah. I posted some questions to ponder in the chat, and I'm going to read them out loud. But what criteria are actually useful when evaluating whether a system is healthy or harmful? Or how do we distinguish between strong belief and coercive belief? I feel like these are part of the things that we're discussing, and I'm so grateful to hear everybody's experience so far. And I also want to remind people, and for those who have come in a little bit late, that anybody here can raise their virtual hand and unmicrophone themselves or unmute themselves, I guess is the word, and share with us. So yeah, Brandy.
I love this question. What criteria are actually useful when evaluating whether a system is healthy or harmful? Because this is the root of what we're looking at today. And the paradigm shift is that you are the criteria of whether a system or a belief is useful or not. You are the only one. There is no books that could ever be written in the future that could tell you what is a criteria of being harmful or helpful to you. And I know that that's hard for us to let go of, this idea that we all could collectively decide what's great for each other. But I think what I'm experiencing is that I do have a push in my body to initiate people into something that is good for them. And if you look at my chart, you'll see why. And as a sixth line, I feel like the best way is in teaching them that their trusting themselves is the only way to be unharmed. And then distinguishing between strong belief and coercive belief. I don't even want to answer that one. That one doesn't even feel relevant anymore after the thought that I, just had. It doesn't feel relevant because strong and coercive, I really am going to be a bit heretical and just talk about how we get to allow everything. If I fall into a coercion of belief, this is my path that I'm walking. This is the thing that I'm here to experience as myself, whether I'm being myself or I'm not being myself. To imagine that this choreography, it's so dynamically, beautifully, meticulously choreographed outside. We can see it everywhere. And to imagine that we are not a part of that choreography is just hogwash to me. And so, um, for me, I trust the choreography, and I trust that when I gave myself away to human design or any other system or a relationship or motherhood or whatever else this life that Brandy has been through asked to give up herself for, that that has been so beautifully and divinely choreographed. That's my belief. Thanks.
Yeah, it sounds like you're talking to what Mark, yes, please, was
No,
mentioning.
I was trying to find how you put your hand up because I'm always using on this end. I have no idea. I'm looking, I'm putting on the dots and I'm like, there's nothing that says, I'm looking down here. I can't
Okay,
find.
that is a great, let me distinguish that. So at the bottom, there's something called react. And if you press on
No.
react, there's a button called raise hand.
Oh, let me play chime for raised hands. No. Recognize hand gesture. New. Doesn't say raise your hand.
It doesn't? Oh,
Let me see. Oh, there it is. When you click, you gotta click on the actual heart. Okay.
yes. Perfect.
But I do have something to say.
Thank you.
From my perspective, when I'm listening a lot, it's like, all right, who is and Brandy makes a good point that collectively we can make an agreement on what this may be or that may be. It's individualized, but within the individual, who's making that decision as whether that's that or whether to participate in that or not. That's from a human design perspective, this is about strategy and authority, not what our mind thinks this may be good or that may be good. Because who knows if it's correct to join something you perceive as maybe, I don't know, it might be the wrong group, but you getting a strong pull to do it, maybe that's the correct experience to have experientially. So then you get, you know, the signature from that experience after it's completed. And then you get to reflect and become more aware, whatever that was after the fact. But making it from a mind place pre there, yeah, this may be this. Oh, I don't want to do this. There's a lot of things that people I've heard, and I've said it myself. Oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And then it's like it turns out, oh, that was the right thing to do, and it was great. So that's the only caveat I put. I'm coming from a nine-centered place where we're looking at it from strategy and authority, when we're looking at it from a place of where we enter correctly or incorrectly is something we need to experience or not. And even the thing that could be ugly in a sense could be a correct experience. This is not about rainbows and jelly beans and all that kind of stuff. That's not the plane we live on. So there's some real growth or opportunities to experience things that are not so nice. That's my point. It's how we get there that makes the difference in the experience itself and then what we take from that experience.
Thank you, Mark. It sounds like you and Brandy are speaking to the same thing, right? It's an experience and an experiment, and who am I to say good luck, bad luck? Like it is. Terry, I am very excited to hear what you have to say.
I am too. I have a conscious throat, but I never quite know what I'm going to say. Um, Thanks, Jessica. Um, yeah, I guess the first thing I wanted to talk about is the strong belief versus coercive belief. Um, the way I would distinguish these is that um, if there's a pattern with a story attached to it that I keep on doing, or there's a situation that has a pattern, whatever. What is the underlying belief that caused me to behave this way in this sort of like habitual pattern? And what experiences inform that belief? And if it's really important that you can kind of go through all of those experiences that feed into why why I think I did this, why my mind tells me I did this, right? What the computer says to rationalize the situation that I've gotten back into for the millionth time. And anyway, so the roots of those belief structures are either something that emerged in me while I was alone or talking to somebody in my mental experience, or words that were said or read, or even felt, I guess, from another, that were then, put as labels onto, um, where I need to be strong, in relation to what things, right? It's really a really mental process of dissection to figure out which one's which. And I think that's what, um, awareness and embodiment help with, to balance out, because that's a very tough process. And the body is ultimately the thing that, um, tells the whole system whether it's safe. Um, so yeah. Um, yeah, so that's a very technical, I don't know if that's helpful, but that's the answer that I had. Thanks.
It is helpful. I think everybody, and I said I'm very excited to hear what Terry says, just so you guys know I'm tribal and Terry has recently come into my tribe. And so I'm excited for everybody and to hear everybody's experience and everything. Yeah, thank you, Terry. I think again, I don't want people to overthink their sharing in this room. Like if something is coming out of you and something is coming up for you, then please raise your hand and let's go. And Marianne, I would love to hear what you have to say now.
Okay, thank you. I'm at the airport, so if it's loud, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry I came late, but I've thought a lot about the whole cult thing on a personal level. Um, I've engaged with I've been a cult adjacent with a lot of other cults, I mean, other areas people call cults do. I think the important aspect to realize is that it's an individual journey. Everyone has to ongoingly be asking themselves, is this a cult? Is this turning into cult? Am I being maneuvered in that way? And leaders within organizations need to constantly be self-checking. Am I trying to coerce? Am I listening for individual self-expression for their higher good? Am I trying to help guide them to their unique voice? Or am I guiding with my brain, like where I think it should be? And you could have your opinion of where you think it should be, but then you would need to qualify that and say, this is my opinion, and let the other person take it or leave it, right? Like you can see someone and want to guide them to say, get out of the way of the moving train, but they're going to have to get themselves out of the way, right? So I don't think, like, I think this discussion is fantastic and it should be ongoing, not settled and put to bed. It's, and I even like bristle, like I'm only like 4 years into my experiment, but I bristle at something as fundamental as strategy and authority. Because I feel that people say that and it's like a rule. And I know that the mind can make you think you're following strategy and authority. So you need to check that too. Kind of need to check with your gut all the time. Like, am I just falling back on these buzzwords of human design, or am I living an embodied experience towards myself? I don't know if I'm being too airy fairy, but
It's a
that's
beautiful,
my
beautiful point, Marianne.
okay.
Thank you for sharing, really.
Yeah.
And by the way, we could only hear you, or at least I could only hear you. So
Oh, perfect. Okay,
yes,
because I'm on
no
earbuds.
airport noise. I see Casey has her hand up.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
We can.
Hi. Um, so I'm really proud of Jonah for doing his heretical thing and saying what needs to be said that I think a lot of people have probably noticed in the beginning of their experiment, learning, getting into these communities and getting a lot of pushback around correctness and whatnot. But I think he's also done a lot of investigation over the history of the of human designs, kind of like building and development, and listening to all the different people who have been involved with the development of this as a system. And so, and just watching the main, the main character, which is Ra, right? Ra Uruhu, and what a beautiful like transmitter he was, and also super fallible as a human being, and we love him for that, but also like one of the telltale signs of a cult is, a leader who is treated as infallible, or, you weren't allowed to question him or his words. And he kind of set himself up that way. Like he would literally say, I'm the only person who's telling you the truth. And he would create a culture of rigidity, and anyone who didn't fall in the line of his perspective were booted out. And that's still happening today in many human design communities. And so, idolizing people just because they worked with Ra is also an example of cultish behavior. Selene, sorry, Selene. Selene also mo commented about seven-centered, that's like kind of what's isolating from us, and how, the human design claim that everything that's not human design is basically seven-centered, and anyone interpreting the mechanics differently than Ra is just basically wrong. And um that is all like to me, that is super cultish. Like if you can't see the value in other systems and consider other perspectives and other mechanics, then you might be in a cult, you know? And so, yeah, like there's a whole lot of reasons why I see cultish behavior. Now, we're not like saying that the human design system is beautiful and magical, and always it will never stop sharing its fruits with us, I don't believe that the door is closing after 2027. I do believe that we are going to continue finding new information regarding human design and who we are and everything after 2027. And that feels like another kind of cultish, urgency, got to get in before the door closes kind of cultish thing. There's a lot of reasons why I feel that there's kind of cultish behaviors in human design. And I think it's super wise to check yourself. Like check yourself, check your heart, check the community that you're in. And um while you can still love the community and love the system at the same time, that's part of working in the not self. Like whenever you are working in the not self, you are always checking yourself and checking how the community is like participating with you or not. And I think that's just something to, yeah, we're all going to experience it in our own way. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you so much, Casey. You brought up a lot of great points. Therese is next, and just so you guys know, like you raise your hand, and I'm going in order. I'm not cherry picking. So, Therese, I would love to hear what you have to say.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for bringing the points. And yeah, to check ourselves is really what you just said, Casey. The most important thing. We can always check the others and say, oh yeah, you're right, you're wrong, whatever, but checking ourselves. And also, yeah, if we feel comfortable with the people who we are with. And for me, a cult is also that you're not allowed to leave, usually. I mean, maybe it's not anymore that was what it was used to be. Yeah, you had to cut ties with your family, better not even talk to them, or invest all your money, and then you were broke, so you had to stay in that cult environment because they were the only ones who gave you, I don't know, food or shelter or something. And I don't think that's what we are talking about to that extent. And the other thing is, for me, that was never about belief. Um, I mean, when I heard my first reading, I really got some tools in my hand. That's how I understood it. And it rang so true that I'm not here to work, at least not regularly. That was the biggest relief in my life. So I didn't have to believe it. This was like, finally, because my whole life I suffered enormously. Yeah, I was really here in school, at home, in my workplaces. I was always the one who had problems because I cannot accept other beliefs. They say do this, do that. It's not in me. Maybe because I'm a self projector and I have this strong sense of self. So also human design or the tools were like, okay, let me try them out if they make a difference in my life or not. And they made a big difference. Yeah, trying that out. And my husband also, he was in the call yesterday, and I've been with him for 15 years, and he's not in human design. He's a manifester. He kind of says yes, must be, but with birth data, that's something he cannot get his head around. He says like, no, how can this be based on birth data? Yeah, what you say rings true. You're so open, you're this, you see things. That sounds like a projector, what you say. And I founded 3 businesses and I have impact. So I must be a manifester, but how can this be based on birth data? So I, and he said, but you never gave me the feeling that's a cult because you're still with me and you wished that I had the language, that we could discuss it. Like he speaks English as a first language, I speak German. So I also wished I could speak German with him, but that's why I quit the relationship. So he gave me the confirmation that's not how I treat the world. And I've been in that for a long, long time, like for 3 cycles. So I'm sometimes, yeah, I feel like, are they talking about me? It's these old timers or these people who knew Ra and they are all well. Yeah, so I'm not sure, is this me now? And yeah, so I think that people who are prone to seek out the authorities or how vulnerable to that, and most people are, I guess that's what I observe, and might have followed something that I'm not aware of. It could be, but from people who I know who have been in cults, like Scientology is a cult for me, and then they changed to newborn Christians or whatever that is, because they were always looking for some outer authority. So they find it here and there, and they might also find it in human design or in mathematics or in sports. That's my new religion. I exercise every day, or there's this movement like get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, for me, that would be so horrible. Yeah? So you get more done, you will be successful, you will whatever. So yeah, and I'm sure, and I've seen people who use human design as that too. They feel enhanced. They suddenly have something where they can tell others off and tell them, no, you're wrong and I'm right, or you're bad, or you're not advanced enough. But they would do it with anything, I guess. As Jonah mentioned, the Enneagram, yeah, or whatever, sports. So nobody is going to stop them from doing that. And yeah, coming back to check ourselves. Am I doing that to others, or am I falling for somebody who just looks like an authority and I might want to listen to somebody? Yeah. I mean, and one last word is that when Ra, as he was mentioned before, was alive and people, those around him were like, do you know what they all say about you? And that's not all true, it's not all true. And he was laughing and he was saying, wait until I'm dead. And so, and that's what's just happening. And it's okay. It's perfect, as you said, everybody. Yeah. It is what it is. And we can just check where we stand and how it is for us. And does it eliminate resistance when we use it, or does it create more? Then we may not it may not be right for us. Yeah, for me, it eliminated a lot of resistance. And when I find resistance, then it's usually me and not somebody else doing things to me, because I can always get out usually. Fortunately, in this country where I live and under the circumstances, I'm not forced to do things, or not yet.
Not yet. We'll
It's
see where the
quite
European Union is in a couple of years.
exactly, yes, yes, and there are things that we are not aware of that are already going on for sure, and yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Therese. I think as one of the only, as I at least know, people who have worked with Raw, I appreciate you stating that. And I think I want to just sum up where we've gotten so far, and then I'm going to give the word to Brandy. And what I feel like we've, for those who have been speaking at least, can agree on is that we're all on our own journey. Good luck, bad luck. What does it mean? Facilitators need to hold themselves to a certain standard of openness. The word cult is shifting. Like you said, Therese, for you, it's been like, I can't leave. I have to give up all my worldly goods, my family. And now it seems like Daya was talking about, like the word is shifting. Things are shifting with that word. And to check ourselves that we're always here to be our own authority. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. So I'm going to give the word to Brandy, and I'm just grateful for this conversation. You are muted, my darling. You are still muted, my darling.
Okay, I'm unmuting, and we were on the same page because this is what I was about to play.
So, why by yourself?
Can I help?
This is one of my favorite.
One more. No tea, okay? Look at how when we are tea.
Okay.
This is that was one of my favorite memes. And
You want me
she,
to help, Rose?
No.
oh, excuse me, let me turn it off. Excuse me, I'm sorry. No, thank you. Worry about yourself. One of my favorite memes, because this little girl is teaching us exactly what is going on. Am I my not self? Yep. Am I my true self? Yep. I am going to be both. And I want to be around people who love all of that in me. This is not an arrival anywhere. I am learning. And sometimes I don't know and I fuck it up. And I want you to worry about yourself so I can worry about myself. And I just love this meme because, and I know that some of us are here to guide others, but guiding only comes through invitation, not through community groups where we tell each other we're wrong or we tell each other we're mental, right? Anytime that I looked at somebody, and I have not been excluded from this judgment. Of course, I am human. Of course, I'm around in these communities and I see somebody and I'm like, whoa, that seems like out of their design. And then I check myself because I worry about myself. I'm out of my design sometimes too, because we're all learning. And so to hold the people who I feel like are not self in a space of love is what I would want. And I think that that's kind of the worry about yourself in this community. I've had people at the very beginning of my experiment tell me they were just trying to help. And for me, help without my request is control. Don't help me unless I've asked you. Telling me that I'm being my not self is not helping me unless I've requested this help from you. It's actually putting me deeper into whatever position that I'm in at that moment, because instead of inviting me out of it, you have shamed me back into it to where now I'm in a defense mechanism. That's something that I had to move out of. So this, you know, I want to be part of a community, and I think I am. I think we are such a beautiful community that can really hold all these differentiating opinions and worry about ourselves and come together and talk about how human feels in me and how human feels in you, because we're all just trying to human here. Nobody's right or wrong ever. Like we're never arrived somewhere. And I saw a lot of that in the chat about the conversations about someone telling someone else. And I think that's what gives us the cult-like reputation, is when we're going around policing one another. So I just wanted to add to that. And I wanted to share with everybody in the call and everybody who's ever seen me or will ever see me again, I will fuck up. I will be my not self. You'll see it. You'll watch it. And if you love me, please fucking hold me, because I'm human. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna chime in real quick and say new level, new devil. Like Raw, even in my understanding of the human design system, he never ever said, and then you make it, and then you get there, like I don't think that's the point. But I am going to call on Raquel. I might be pronouncing that incorrectly. You've been up and down with your hand a couple of times, but your hand is up now. So I would love to hear what you have to say. Am I saying Rachel? Is that what your actual name is?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't hear you call my. I thought you said diet. I apologize. Hi, everybody. Thank you for calling on me. Appreciate it. And thanks everybody for this call. Brandy, thank you for hosting this, and Jonah, thanks for the book and bringing up this discussion, which I think is super courageous for all of us to be confronting this question: is human design possibly a cult, a little bit culty? In what degrees do we find cultiness with this system that is like dear to all of us? And I think that for myself, my own human design journey, when I like Brandy, when I found human design was in a very low place personally, and I think that that's a very crucial thing for us to recognize as people within this community, whether it's a community or a cult, either way, that when people enter or exit the community, that there's oftentimes some kind of personal crisis happening, and that's very pivotal in shaping to how people are going to experience the system, at what degree they're going to like say that like or not even say, but just like be affected by the experiment and the whole thing. When people used to say, like, I mean, I definitely am prone to like culty. I like cults. I like. I've been in a few, like not the super like bad ones, but the good ones. And so, like, I think it's important to consciously like be able to admit like what we get out of it. Like, I mean, the original first cult was the family. I read in some channeled material Rancho book. I mean, I think that like it's unavoidable for us as human beings to not want to participate in these transcendent groups. And I think that it's also like possible that they could really easily be used by certain people consciously or unconsciously to, for power and coercion. And so I think that um, I think it's great that we're all having this like conversation about it. And I also feel like, just for myself, when I first had this, like, I wouldn't call it an epiphany, but I would call it like a crack in the brainwashing of the human design system, which I was fully like hook, line, and sinker bought into it, as I am prone to do as an individual and know this about myself. But when I had that first crack and like, oh shit, this could be a psyop, or oh, this might be bullshit, like it was like it was a big deal. And like to be able to talk to other people within the system and the community about that is like, I think what makes a big difference to like how detrimental and coercive is human design as a cult versus like, if you question Scientology, it's a big ass deal. If you question AA, it's a huge deal. If you question the military, all these are considered cults by this one author who's the cult expert. I put her book down there. And all of them are possibly life-saving for certain people at certain times. So anyway, I'm going to sign off, but I appreciate you all. Thanks.
I muted myself now. Thank you for sharing, Rachel. Yeah, it's a really beautiful conversation. I'm loving this togetherness and vibe that we're having here. So Terry, your hand is next.
Hey, yeah, it's interesting. A lot of thoughts going through my head uh, during this during this call. I think the first thing I wanted to address is like the connotation of the word cult, and like not to name it or to give my take on it, but to say the connotation that we have as a collective conditioned in the way that the Western worlds, or whatever worlds we're from, have perceived the cult through the 60s. And just, I want to name specifically the industrial interests that were behind the news organizations, right? And how that filled self-censoring of words and editorial, use of words. Um, like that is the like realistically, that's the groundwork of this discussion, is the conditioning field of around the word cult. Because there is an academic depth to it, and you can you can go back however many hundreds of years. But most people aren't aware of that, so it's just like it really does just stir shit up, and it's really juicy. And I've been also looking at Jonah's chart a little bit and just seeing how tidally it all just kind of makes sense. Like it just fits with the mechanics and all these things. But I don't know if I want if there's really time to go into that.
Maybe
Yeah.
at the end. And if Jonah's okay with that, because I mean, being read is, it can be a little bit personal and sensitive. But yeah, thank you, Terry. I think this word cult, we're definitely getting to the bottom of what it feels like. Yeah. Jess, are you getting your kids in the car line or something?
Yes, I am. It's that time of day, but oh, what a beautiful conversation. I just want to take a moment to celebrate every single one of you right now here on this call, making this happen, having this conversation. This is such an important conversation, and here everybody is sharing their voices, sharing their wisdom, everybody holding space for each other, hearing each other's perspectives, because we're here to have these different perspectives, and it's done in a place of love, and it feels so good. It feels so, so, so good to be here. So again, thank you everybody for being here. And Jonah, thank you for starting this. Thank you for being so incredibly brave, because for you to start this conversation, to write this book is just amazing. I mean, what you put into it, like what you shared, the questions you've brought up. So really celebrating you and thanking you. Hi, baby. Hi. Little one's in the car. So for me, with human design, it feels like eating a bowl of ice cream, right? And so potentially your whole life you've been told, don't eat the ice cream, don't have the ice cream, it's not for you, right? And for me, it was finding this tool that said, here's some ice cream, here's this deliciousness in your life that you can have, and giving you that permission to go, okay, I've had enough ice cream. My body is telling me enough now. This is the stopping point. And the place where it can start to get a little bit cultish is where people start to tell you, no, 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 finish your bowl of ice cream, right? Because they think through their experience, but they don't have your unique experience when that point comes, right? But that's not the tool itself. That's not human design. That's the way people are using it, but they're using it trying to help. They're like, this has helped me so much, and this has brought me clarity. This has been the way I have experienced it, right? But it's your own unique experience. How is it showing up for you, right? That's the core of it. You know, mess around. I'm going to use choice words because mess around and find out, right? What is it for you? And so again, it's that permission to be you, to experience the things the way you are without necessarily having to explain, to have that, that place where you can actually be you and people understand why, right? And the biggest thing I want to say, right now, the question that came up was like, what is our response when people say, well, you're not self, right? Because that's when you start to feel less than. And that's not what human design's about. It's not about making people feel less than. So maybe we can have a response where it's something like Brandy said, and people can say to you, well, you're not self. And you can come back and say, and can you just hold me right now? Turning it back to love, bringing it back to love. And then maybe from that place, starting to shift it into something where it goes, is this not self? and allowing somebody to have their own experience without you having to name it, right? But starting with that initial place of going, okay, well, maybe you think I am, but maybe I am. And can you hold me in it? Having that response ready to meet that.
Beautiful. Always love a hope. Brandy, do you have a comment directly to Jess? Because Mark is.
Just really quick, and Mark has been waiting, just really
Yeah.
fast. And that's the work, guys, is holding people in their not selves. I think Casey said something about how hard it is. It is really hard because when you're being your not self, the reason I'm triggered is because I've also caged myself somewhere. And it's pointing back to me to look at me, and maybe I'm not ready or prepared for that. And so it is the work, right? It feels like for me, any work that there is for me to do in the world is regulating myself to allow you to be you and me still love you and me still love me. And so it is hard to hold somebody in their not self. And we get to be skillful and learn how to be in community together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for letting me interject.
Oh, no, actually, it dovetails in what I was going to share anyway. So thank you, Jess and Brandy. I think, the use of certain terminology in the system can get twisted or misused or misappropriated or misdirected in a way. When we make the distinction between the behavior of being in a seven-centered concept or the behavior of a nine-centered concept is different. It's like you don't say you're being seven-centered in a sense, or you are seven-centered. What I'm witnessing that's behavior of that. And it's also, how did you introduce it to that person? Was it done correctly? Like, you can be informed, Brandy, you're in my view, so and other people need to be, they inquire, they ask, oh, what is your opinion? It's like, was it done correctly or not in a sense of how it was interact? Are you telling somebody? Most people, you can't do that. Would you like to hear what I'm witnessing? I'm witnessing seven-centered behavior, not self behavior. It doesn't make them not self. It doesn't make them be that thing. I think that's the difference. But when sometimes it's being heard, even in the correct way, people take it personally, and then they don't hear the distinction that's being made. At least that's been my experience with certain people, is that they take it personally. I could say this behavior is seven-centered or not self-behavior. It doesn't make them a not self person or a better or a wrong person. And I think that's important. I think it's a very important context that we're describing behaviors, not people in that sense.
Thank you. And I just wanted to remind us all, it's only correct if it's invited.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too, where you said that earlier, Brandy, where it's like, or I think it was you, Brandy, but help without request is control. And I think that is a really important part of this, where we can only judge if someone or something or situation or a place is correct for us based on our own experience of something, and not if that person is incorrect. And I think that's what is coming out in this conversation right now about the not self, and loving the fact that we're all going to be both. We're going to be true self and not self, and it's all us, and we're here to experience all of it, is what I'm hearing that people are saying. Brandy.
It went out of my head.
Okay. Yes. All right, Dia.
Yeah, thanks. So many different threads. The hug thing, the not self thing, the labels, the projections, the assumptions. The naming of all of these things is, to me, really powerful, and I'm very full of gratitude for it, because again, it's that opening up the conversation. And there was a really quite a fascinating deep trauma workshop that I was in a few weeks ago, where this guy, he basically just led a conversation on being with the client and just asking a couple of questions while their deep brain stem felt and re-experienced things that needed to be experienced that hadn't been experienced. And what happened is that it was literally just presencing. That's all it was. It was just that. It was just listening to the person as he moved through the stuff, a lot of it nonverbal. He wasn't talking about what he was experiencing. He wasn't in story. He wasn't sharing all of these different things. He was literally just having his nervous system release what was held back then. And so, like yesterday, when I shared, I felt the adrenaline moving through me. I felt that Mars activation in the 19, coercing through me, that adrenaline. I've got a gateless root. Whenever Mars is in the root center, it's like, uh-oh, what's going to happen, right? And it took me quite a while to regulate my system after I shared. And what I really came to was the fact that when Brandy said, it's like just hold. That's often what I need, just to be witnessed, to have that trauma witnessed so that the new neural pathways can be created. Because if those new neural pathways don't get created, all that other deep trauma just stays there. And some of the things that I've experienced in the human design world in the last 20 years have been really damaging. Really bloody damaging from good people with the best of intentions, believing and thinking that they know better than I do. And to me, this is actually what's got to stop. And so, what I often do now with clients, instead of giving them a reading, telling them all of these different things, I listen through conversation to hear their keynotes come up. How are their own personal keynotes coming through? And what happens then is that I'm listening, I'm hearing, and then I'm recognizing that, and I'm helping them to build the new neural pathways. And they love it, I mean, there's a lot of different things there. So what I feel is really pivoting is this shift in moving through 2026 and into 2027, where we're all hopefully, or we all are shifting our way of working with these keynotes that activate our DNA to bring about the true self. Instead of the languaging which Ra so thankfully brought through, which was waking up the not self, shoving that trigger into the not self, because it was needed. Oh my God, it was needed. And he did brilliant work. And he also effed up on a regular basis. Like, that's what we do, right? So somebody said to me yesterday, oh, you had a bit of a blowout. Wow, I mean, seriously, girl. Uh, your not self sure still comes up, doesn't it? Like I was bad and I was getting shamed for that. And it's like, oh my God, people, seriously. Do we have to do this again and again and again? Can't we actually be bringing in a languaging of acceptance and honoring? I mean, I wrote this big thing there the other day. I put it up on my musings blog about reaction as sacred. What is it to hold reaction as sacred, to totally honor it? Why is it that I can react to the beauty of something and be congratulated and gone, wow, that's so cool. You've got this like really beautiful reaction. But then I bring in a trigger reaction that leads to some kind of trauma. Oh, whoa, we don't want that. it's like it's an outdated system. And that's what I am loving about this conversation, is because it's poking the bear on the outdated situation that does need to change. And it's my birthday in exactly a week. So, and I'm turning 59. It's I'm rocking into the 60s in 2027. So 21 years with human design, and well, that's actually in May is my thing then, my milestone. So I'm in 20 years, and it's phenomenal. I don't care so much about naming all of these different things, but I love listening to them. So yeah, thank you for the conversation.
Thank you for sharing. Jonah, you were going to share a little bit about this 7-centered, 9-centered conversation that's happening also in the chat simultaneously here.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of this has already kind of been gone over, but I did want to share one thing, which is just a point about cognitive dissonance, because there's like a whole series of comments that I've received that are very similar to the thoughts that I had going through this whole process of like, well, human design must be the worst cult in the world if it's telling you to trust yourself. Like, how could that, how could there be any control there? Or, the only way that it would be possible that there would be controlling behavior is if somebody is trusting outer authority, and, it's all about trusting inner authority. So these are kind of, I do agree. I totally agree with those sentiments. I also see this cognitive dissonance that sometimes reaches a really intense place where I posted about this in the comments. There was a thread, and I'll leave the person, anonymous, but there was a Facebook thread and some comments about my book where it was really saying that divisiveness and division is coming from the 7-centered being, and even just leaving it there is already like, okay, well, that's kind of like finger pointing, but I get it. Like, it's okay to say, I'm identifying this source. Like, I get it. Like, if you have this idea of like, there's a better way of being, we should all try to strive to overcome divisiveness, and you just happen to use the word 7-centered, I don't really have a problem with that. But then that post went on to be about 2 pages explaining in great detail how it's like, it was really like a bizarre level of cognitive dissonance going into all of this divisiveness is from like the people that don't get it, that they don't get how to not be divisive. And it was going on and on about how they're dominating and controlling and shaming, and it's diversionary tactics, and it's this and it's that. And it was basically a rant. And look, I've ranted too. I mean, to Dia's point, we should never try to control anybody's authentic emotional reaction. Like, it's fine. If you have a reaction and you end up with a 2-page rant, like, or anything, like, expression is good. But the level of cognitive dissonance reached this fever pitch where the person basically finally concluded saying, well, there's no choice, we should just feel sorry for them. But it was like, we should feel sorry for them for being the source of division. While it's literally 2 pages saying there's a difference between the 7 and the 9-centered, and they're the source of all the division. I'm like, how do you reconcile these 2 beliefs that you're not being divisive by doing that? It's like, how, and even I've had to accept, like, it was divisive of me to write the book I wrote, and I've had to live up to that, or to own that. But I guess I'm just saying, I guess my only real point was to contribute that cognitive dissonance is something that I didn't really understand until I started doing research for my book and going deep into it. I sort of just thought, okay, cognitive dissonance is when you have 2 things that both sound true, or it's like sounds true and false at the same time, or something confusing. But what I actually learned is that there actually are these impossible situations, like it's all about decision making and that there's no choice, or all conflict comes from the 7-centered, but yet it's that itself is it kind of breaks my brain. So I don't want to break anyone else's brain here. I would just say, if you're curious about this, read about cognitive dissonance. I didn't even really know it was a thing, and then once I did read about it, it sort of gave me a new perspective and a new way of recognizing when it's happening. And it definitely happens a lot in conversations around no choice and in conversations around 7 and 9-centered. So that's all I really have to contribute there.
Thank you, Jonah.
Thank you.
Brandy, you had your hand up.
I, it's just a little quibbit, and we've been here for a long time, so I don't want to keep us any longer. But it was just a little quibbit about how how that cognitive dissonance, or that's not seeing what it is that you're saying, is the universe's beautiful way of offering you these information or crisis or emergency or whatever it is for you to be able to see the thing, right? So it's a beautiful opportunity, and I kind of like it when I see it because I can see the universe in play, and I can stay out of it and watch this person grow or not grow, or bring whatever it is to light that they were here to bring to light, without my arrogance to think that me telling them anything about themselves is going to help at all. But watching the beauty of, I think somebody mentioned in the comments that cognitive dissonance is something that comes along with paradox, and somebody else is talking about gaslighting as well. But and we could all talk about these words forever. But again, it's all part of the process. When we in this room, and I'm going to say all we of us again, Mark, we have earned or a certain set of witnessing. We desire to have a certain ability to witness the world. And what I'm inviting is to witness that this cognitive dissonance is part of the process of being able to recognize yourself in the universe and find your place. It's all beautiful to be able to take that witness consciousness to see it. Anyway, that's what I wanted to add. And thank you. I wanted to thank Jessica for moderating this room. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And for the questions and for everything. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure. And I feel like we've come to a conclusion. Not a conclusion. I feel like we've come to a point of wrapping up this conversation, Brandy. I don't know if you agree. This is your room, and Jonah, I would like you guys to chime in here.
I absolutely do. From my end, this has been really fruitful and productive and lively, and I'm so glad everyone came, and hearing all the perspectives, the comments, and the threads have been wonderful, and I really appreciate everyone coming together today. And absolutely, thank you for moderating, Jessica. Thank you, Brandy, for hosting this, and just for everyone who came.
All right, before we leave, I just want to invite everybody to take a breath and feel their feet again. We'll close the container. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Brandy, for initiating this. Thank you for letting me support this. And thank you for everybody and all the comments, the chat, everything. This has been beautiful and needed.